my body. Every size, every line, every girl, every guy, everybody who don't identify.
Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. If you are new here, hi, hello, my name is Loey. You guys, my camera really is like propped up on a tiny little portable tripod in front of a lamp in a random hotel room in Detroit, Michigan. But I really have felt very compelled to come back to you guys and talk a bit more about McKamey Manor. I felt like, for lack of a better word, the success that it gained as a video, the attention that it garnered from people who had never known of my channel previously, and just the amount of people coming in left and right, both people who had never heard of the story, people who were very familiar with the story, people involved with the story, all of that combined has really made me want to continue on talking about this subject. So in today's video, I'm going to be focusing on the victims, the survivors of McKamey Manor. And specifically two. I could easily include more people, but just based on the amount of information I had on these two people alone, I didn't want to shorten their story, shorten down, condense what I already knew in order to just, talk about more and more people who went through the manor. I can definitely do that maybe and condense more of that moving forward, but unfortunately this story is just a beast. So many people have been affected by McKamey Manor. And so actually very quickly after my first video on Russ McKamey and McKamey Manor, I received an email from Surviving Life here on YouTube, from somebody affiliated with Surviving Life. And this person went on to tell me that, they had seen my video, that Ron from that channel had seen my video, and that they were very interested in just helping me get the information that I was so curious about. Because at the end of my video, my first video, I was just kind of sat wondering, like, why? Why did this place exist? Why did people ever go into it in the first place? What really happened in there? And with the help of Surviving Life, I have been able to deep dive into their live streams and hear a lot from various people involved with McKamey Manor. I've heard from Holly, the now ex-girlfriend, ex-partner of Russ McKamey. I have heard from his ex-wife, from his daughter, from people in his life I guess I never even would have thought would be on YouTube talking about this. That is all going to be covered in an upcoming video, but if you guys want to check out the live streams, definitely do so. I will have the channel link down below. I'm going to be talking about one live stream that they did in particular with Marissa Phillips, who I think is arguably one of the most recognizable faces that has gone through McKamey Manor. Okay, so was not expecting to make this update, but unfortunately, the very day that I filmed this video, I was getting onto a Surviving Life live stream to talk about McKamey Manor, etc. And the live stream, right before I went live, suspiciously was flagged for like spam, which means that a ton of people were reporting it. As a result, Surviving Life got a strike on their channel and they can no longer live stream, post anything, and it's completely screwed. They have, for the time being, just for their own safety until they figure out what happened and how to reverse it, taken down all of the live streams on their channel. However, Ron, the creator of Surviving Life, was kind enough to allow me to use this live stream in my video, and he said he will be linking it live again for you guys so you can go watch the full thing. But if you guys want to tweet at Team YouTube, at YT Creators, let them know that this strike should be removed so that Surviving Life can get back to uploading, I would greatly appreciate it. But overall, their live streams have been incredibly helpful. There are hours and hours of footage to sit through if you guys want to, and it's just fascinating. So many questions that I have finally been answered. with these live streams on the Surviving Life channel, people from Russ's camp who very much still stand by his side today have come out and spoken. So it's very interesting to hear from all sides and just know exactly what it's all about. One final thing, keep the comments clean here. I really appreciate both of these women coming forward and telling their stories, no matter how they feel about McKamey Manor as a whole or anything. And so I will be really heavily monitoring these comments just because these women are so brave, even coming forward at all and talking about what they went through and what they experienced. So without any further ado, let's get started first with the story of Marissa Phillips, who is a young woman who went through McKamey Manor 4 separate times. Marissa took tours in both California and Tennessee, 2 in California and 2 in Tennessee. Excuse me if I look down a lot during this video. I have a ton of notes just to keep me organized and in the right direction, basically. So for me, one of the most interesting videos online about Marissa Phillips is the SDSU, San Diego State University, documentary about McKamey Manor and one of her tours. Now, of course, this was in San Diego, and Russ made a very long intro in the beginning of this. I'm also going to say I'm not going to be using any of Russ McKamey's footage whatsoever. Other footage I feel comfortable using, but I just don't want to mess with it. So, in this documentary, basically, Russ made a whole show about how this documentary was filmed and he wasn't very happy about it, and he just wasn't excited that he was not in control of a lot of this. And this is not me taking anything out of context. These are like verbatim the things that he said. When being interviewed during this documentary that was then re-uploaded onto the McKamey Manor YouTube channel, Marissa says that the specific reason why she wants to take the tour is because she needs more bumps and bruises in her life. In her own words, she just wanted to prove to herself that she could handle being an adult. So hopping over a bit, in this same video, the person who is doing the documentary also interviews the actors who are going to be participating in Marissa's haunt. And one of them in particular pretty much starts out their entire section by saying they like to do this because they like hurting people, which was very jarring to hear out loud, I will say. And then another one named Mr. Gray said that he had just gotten out of prison. When asked what he was convicted for, he goes on to say murder, though later he retracts that and says he was just trying to scare them and it was actually robbery, but he is a convicted felon. And it was very, once again, just super jarring to hear. And so the interviewer asks, so is this all an act? And this same Mr. Gray person gets super up in his face and says, you know, sign a waiver and I'll tell you if it's an act. Another actor named Little Sister goes on to say that she is the one who likes to cut the hair, who likes to pull out fingernails, goes into very graphic detail about what she likes to do to people. Unfortunately, Little Sister's depiction of what would happen in the tour was pretty good foreshadowing for Marissa's tour in McKamey Manor this round, because pretty quickly her hair was cut off and shoved into her mouth, despite her being promised that they would not cut her hair. Of course, you know, they cut it. These are the less intense details of her tour, but she is whipped and shocked with some kind of device. It looks like a taser. It could be something else. Later on, she is covered in dirt as though she has been buried alive. She says at this point, Russ, you are the most fantastic guy I know. And it seems as though this is her safe phrase for this tour, because at this point she's allowed to quit. They quickly praise her for how well she's done in the tour, and it's over. In her exit interview, and Marissa has a lot of exit interviews online, she goes on to explain that her life has been changed for the better. She thinks because of McKamey Manor. She was able to quit her job at the laundromat that she seemingly does not like very much. She has moved on to a better, higher paying job that actually, you know, uses the field of work that she studied in college, and she gives credit to, you know, the haunt for supposedly hardening her in a way. So, like I said, Marissa did 4 separate tours. I do have a bit of trouble piecing together which tours were when and where. I don't feel as though I have a very good timeline of what her tour schedule looked like. I just see all of these random videos all weirdly uploaded in 2017 online. But she goes on in a video on her channel to talk about her experience in Catus Silvis, which is a completely separate tour from the one she had taken before. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this one was in Tennessee.
I was pretty incoherent going back and watching the video. I was a little too incoherent for a decent exit interview. So now I'm back home. Ladies, I can't tell you how many times I've seen the comment like, oh, I'm down for this. I'd totally do the tour as long as they don't touch my hair. They're going to touch your hair. And if they tell you they aren't going to touch your hair, then they're definitely going to touch your hair. And if you don't want to be looking like dang G.I. Jane up in here, don't do this, dummy. Don't do this. This is insane. This is absolute craziness. They just got in my head so bad and on a whole different level. I was really, I don't want to say surprised, but in awe, I guess, of how they got in my head and really messed with me.
Some major things I wanted to point out in this video about her experience were that one of her big fears are needles, and they got her good with those.
You know, my big thing was needles. They got me real good with those. Real scary. Really scary. I tried to fight back. I tried to run away. But there's a whole mob of those actors, and I don't think you can get away from them. I don't think you want to try either. They made me regret me trying to run away.
She also says she wants to talk people out of doing McKamey Manor because it is insane.
I would love to be able to actually talk some of you people out of doing this, because this is crazy. This is really crazy. If you haven't done this before and you have any qualms about, you know, getting your hair cut or having people get real personal, don't do this. Just don't do this. You don't know what you're walking into here. It's nasty. Really nasty. A lot of things I ate, I'm not sure if humans are supposed to eat those. I mean, I guess I'm okay now. But, I guess I'm okay now.
Much like the last video, Marissa showcases the bruises on her leg, and I will show that now. And then actually from her last video, I meant to mention this in the last section. In the SDSU documentary, here are the bruises that she showcased in that. So very clearly this is super intense and not something that should be taken lightly. It's not like she's just walking out with a scratch or two. These are pretty substantial bruises. All right, and then the last video that I can find pertaining to Marissa's tour experience before we get into her surviving life interview. This is a full video on the Manor YouTube channel. In a bizarre, narcissistic, very strange intro, Russ McKamey explains that it takes him 16 minutes to say this, by the way, that they have moved to Tennessee and that for the first tour of Extinction, he wants Marissa to be the one to take it. He also says that this is a music video tour. It's like a supercut version of her tour, but that the full 3-hour movie is so scary that it kind of convinced his girlfriend Holly to break up with him. That's very telling. I also think is just an interesting view into just how intense that video was, but unfortunately I cannot find it online. There isn't a ton to say about this since it's just a few minutes of, you know, probably multi-hour tour condensed into like a couple of minutes over music, and it's music sang by Russ. It feels very strange now to look at. But some of the more gruesome moments of this walkthrough were a shot of her fingernail being lifted up from its bed, which I thought was interesting because in the last video, that little sister character said that that was something she liked to do. There were also shots of her dragging what looked like a needle across her face. And then later on, actually, Russ injects something into her mouth with one of those needles. And she had said in her previous, exit interview that needles were a huge fear for her. Obviously, that's just a brief look into it. She's forced to tase herself. She has a device in her mouth that keeps it open the whole tour. And it's kind of, it's just painful to watch. In her exit interview for this tour, which is attached to this video, she explains that she, for her homework for this tour, she had to stay up for 34 hours prior to completing it, and that she's someone who is affected very much by lack of sleep and stuff like that. So now finally moving on to the night of the Surviving Life live interview with her, which I'm so grateful I was able to attend live. It's so funny because in all of this, Marissa has been one of the people, and I'm not just saying this, that I have been the most intrigued by. She is such a lovely person, so well-spoken, seems so sweet and kind, and it startled me to see her in situations like the ones that she was in McKamey Manor. And I'm very grateful that she came forward and told her story. It was a super brave thing to do. I will have her full interview linked down below. But on the night of the interview, she spoke really well about her time in McKamey Manor, and she seemed very nervous, but again, was just super well spoken and really shed light on so many questions that I had had up until that point. Marissa explains in her interview that she has always loved performance and acting and even magic, and that McKamey Manor in particular caught her eye because mostly she just wanted to understand what it was all truly about. She went on to say that pretty much from the moment that she emailed Russ about McKamey Manor, got an email back from him inviting her to join the private Facebook group, and she did. She has been harassed by the mob of people surrounding this haunt, and that it's never really stopped.
Seems like everybody is kind of coming forward and sharing their trauma, and the idea that maybe at the end of this we can all leave better and like just let go of some of that. I really hope that happens. And so I do want to mention, I'm not going to say anybody's names, but a lot of people, it's not just Russ who has hurt people. It's not just Russ who has caused all of this. We've all been a part of the mob and part of the lives. That being said, I told you I pretty much signed up for the tour and sent an email through the website before I even knew about the Facebook group. I was directed to join the Facebook group, and pretty much immediately you get mobbed, you get harassed online by a whole bunch of people. I just kind of accepted it as a part of the tour. The unfortunate thing is that doesn't seem to ever end after the tour. I'm not particularly mad about all that. That's just kind of part of the experience, I think. Again, the problem I kind of have with it in retrospect is it never stopped. Like, when's my tour over?
In her interview, she is asked about the time that a former employee of McKamey Manor, who was also interviewing basically earlier in the same live stream as her, his name is Anthony, and I believe it's Silvis. I'm sorry if that's not correct. And he had to stop one of her tours because it got completely out of hand.
Well, the big things that I saw and have direct knowledge of were what he tried to get us to do to Marissa Phillips. Because we didn't know exactly what was going on until I came around the corner and saw it. And I put an end to it immediately.
The story goes a little something like this. Apparently, Russ McKamey was interrogating Marissa about situations and people involved with McKamey Manor, and specifically him.
Him and another guy had her in a 55-gallon barrel of ice water and cooking oil, and there was some other stuff in it that was harmless but smells like 1,000 skunks died in your septic tank. It's pretty awful. But they were holding her physically. I mean, this was a 300-pound man holding tiny Marissa Phillips down in this water. Her lips were turning blue, and they were interrogating her about all the claims Russ had made about his ex-actors and Carol stealing from him. when in fact that wasn't even true to begin with, that nobody stole anything from him.
I know he was questioning me. I was being put in a position where I had to defend people I didn't even know, or I was accused of like colluding with people I didn't even know. I think Russ would have pushed that as far as he could to get the answers he wanted. And interrogation work, I did confess to things. I believe I did. I believe I confessed to things that weren't true, just to make it stop.
He had a camera in her face the whole time. The girl's lips were turning blue. And she couldn't get out. She had a 300-pound man holding her down. And that's what I put a stop to.
In your opinion, like, how long do you think Russ would have continued that if you hadn't?
As long as it took to get her to say whatever he wanted her to say. She was turning blue. I mean, that doesn't happen immediately. But when I got a look at her and the look on her face and the tone of her skin, it told me she was in direct physical danger. Like something really bad would have within the next few minutes.
I don't think Russ would have let anything. I don't think he would have let it go that far. I'm thankful somebody stepped in.
So for me, Marissa, like I said, really cleared up one of the biggest questions that I kept having about McKamey Manor, which is why people would do it, knowing the risks, knowing what could be the outcome of it, etc., etc. In her interview on the Surviving Life channel, she touches a bit on her struggles with anorexia. And she had been struggling with an eating disorder for years and years and years. And she talks a bit about the idea of going into McKamey Manor and squashing her eating disorder.
I have a pretty severe eating disorder. When you starve for long enough, you kind of do get like an adrenaline high. And so I had this stupid idea that, I'd get that anorexia high before I went into the tour and I'd be able to just kill it. Just, I'm not sure how to explain that mindset, but Russ asked me to give a doctor's note. I did provide one 2 different times for him, so he had an updated one. But it's common it's a very deceptive disorder, so that never showed up on my doctor's note. Already, Russ would have known.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't because somebody.
I had told Russ about it before.
Yeah.
That's on me.
Okay.
But hearing her talk about her story with her eating disorder and the idea that if she could overcome McKamey Manor, she could overcome anything. Hearing her talk about this really finally made something click in my head. What wouldn't you do? What wouldn't any of us do to be able to get rid of our worst habit in our minds, to be able to conquer that thing which lives in our head nonstop most days, and in order to live life as our best selves? Like, I'm not saying that I personally would go through McKamey Manor in order to squash an inner demon that I had, or whatever, but everyone is different. And for the first time, it really, really made sense to me. Like, oh, something clicked, and I was like, I kind of get it now. I wrote this last night while I was writing the script for this video, and I think I'm just going to read it straight to you guys because it's how I genuinely felt when everything started making sense for me. How many of us have had moments where we doubted that we were stronger than our demons? What would you give? What would I give to be able to defeat our worst habits, illnesses, ailments, so that we could become the best versions of ourselves, or, what we believe is the best version of ourselves? Hearing Marissa speak finally made it resonate for me. McKamey Manor isn't as simple for some people as chasing an adrenaline high, though that certainly is part of it. It's about proving what you're made of, in Marissa's words, to show yourself that you really are braver than you think you are. And if Marissa is watching this video, I hope that she knows that the conquering of her demons and the things that she's been able to do in her life and achieve, McKamey Manor doesn't deserve that recognition. They don't deserve that praise. She deserves that. Marissa did those things for herself. And I hope that wherever she is, she knows that, and that she knows she is the best version of herself because of her. Marissa, you are a very, very beautiful person, and I'm sorry that you went through all of the things that you, went through in both McKamey Manor and outside of it. But I think you're wonderful, and I really appreciate you telling your story in the Surviving Life interview. Concluding on that very positive note, we're actually going to be now, pretty much any minute, I'm going to be taking a call from a subscriber of mine named Gabby. And Gabby and I have been talking for a few days about scheduling an interview here on my channel. And I know that me doing an interview right now in a Holiday Inn Express with a giant jacuzzi in the middle of the room for no reason is kind of laughable, but it was definitely something that I wanted to do. And Gabby went through the manor 5 years ago, pretty much. She said that she has just been kind of waiting for the right time to tell her story, and with everyone coming forward with their experiences, she definitely feels like now is the perfect time. Okay, so I just got a text from Gabby, and I'm gonna go ahead and FaceTime her, and it's kind of nerve-wracking because, for a lot of these, I'm relying on excess information. I've never gotten this close to a case that I've been working on before. So I'm very excited to talk with her. Ooh. Hi!
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm nervous. I've only talked about this. This is going to be the second time now, so
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's kind of like crazy timing, right? Like, it's been 5 years
Yeah.
since your tour, and I mean, just like the fact that everything is like going viral now, and it's got to be really jarring, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's weird because I posted, like, when I did the tour the first time, I posted a video on YouTube, and it was just me being positive because I was 19 when I did it. So I was super naive, and, like, I didn't understand that there was a lot more to it. And I got so much backlash. So then I just kind of took the video down and didn't say anything about it. And now it's just like, it's become this big thing. And I was like, maybe it's finally time to say something.
Is that why, and I will get into everything here in a minute, but like, is that why you said it had been like 5 years since your first video, right? Was that what you were talking? Okay, wow. If you don't mind, I'll go ahead and ask the first round. And excuse me if I'm a little bit messy with this. This is not my usual format, but I'm so stoked. I'm so excited that if I was ever going to do something like this, you are the person that I'm doing this with, and hopefully we can make all sorts of scary stuff when I come back to LA. So you're from LA, obviously.
So I'm originally from Kansas.
Oh, got it. Oh my God, small world. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So when you hit it up, was it one of the events that they were doing here? And I haven't had a chance to watch your video, so excuse me if you've already answered this. Was it in LA? Was it one of the events that they did in LA, or was it one of the San Diego tours?
So I drove to San Diego.
Okay, got it. Okay. And do you by chance know what show it was that you did? I know they all have different names and they're all, different within their own right.
So my tour was the first of kind of the van / whatever it's become now.
Got it.
Because I got put into a van and then taken to a house. So my tour kind of started the van. But I know after mine, there was more like torture type stuff happening with it.
Okay. Yeah, I've noticed a trend with these tours that Russ or, whatever the team behind it is, will name them different things. So I was just curious, and I'm trying so hard myself to set up a timeline of what they look like, but I have no idea. So
the best timeline that I have was so the videos that I watched that got me interested were from 2012. So that was when it was like a boo haunt. Wow. I went in 2014, and he told me that my haunt was going to be the first of his extreme haunt. So 2014 is kind of where everything kicked off. So I'd say 2014 would be the van and the Tennessee thing. Okay. So anything that's like the house or the boo haunt, that's before.
I know that when I looked at your video, he referred to yours as a boo haunt. So that's interesting.
I was offended. That's why I don't watch my video. It's like an hour. My video is an hour, but it's also super edited with a lot of just like, this is happening and like text. And I was like, where's everything that happened to me on there? I was in there for 6 hours, yo.
So we can touch on this in two separate points if you're, if you want to. Probably the way that you feel about it now is different than the way that you felt about it then. Immediately after the tour, how were you feeling about the experience? And then after that, if you don't mind, I'd love to know how you look back at it now.
Yeah, so immediately after the tour, I was like, right after I had to drive home, and it was like a 3-hour drive, and I was...
Oh my gosh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't listen to music. I didn't check my phone. I just like drove home, and then I went to sleep. And I woke up to Facebook, and Russ had sent me messages, and he was like, that was so much fun, you guys were so awesome, like, okay. And at this point I was like, oh my gosh, I'm involved with the super cool haunted house, and I told him that I was going to make a video, and he's like, yeah, you should make a video, but don't give away the secret. So we basically, like, at this point started to, I would call it the brainwashing phase, because that's why I didn't say anything that happened, because I was afraid that I legally couldn't. Come to find out that wasn't true. But he was like, you can't give away any of the secrets. So I made a video, and I was like, it was so much fun. I survived my own scary movie. I survived 6 hours. Go do it.
Yeah.
And then I was really naive, and Russ loved the video, and it got the house a lot of attention at the time. Mm-hmm. So he just kind of kept me around. I started running his YouTube page. I started running his Facebook page. Yeah, like I started doing a lot of behind the scenes things. I was an admin of the group. Yeah, it became a whole little occult little aspect, because everyone involved just became obsessed with Russ and with the haunted house. That's
really interesting. I wasn't aware that you had had that level then of involvement. That's crazy. Yeah. Looking back at it now, what are you feeling about that time, or your experience there?
I feel like it could have been a really cool idea, but it was in the wrong hands. Mm-hmm. I was very manipulated at the time, and I was very young, and it took me actually just this past October looking through all of the messages, just like rereading our conversations, and the things that he was saying to me, I was like, oh my gosh, I was so young and I was falling for it. Like, he was sending me screenshots of like people I should go comment on their Facebook and like defend him. He was having me do research on people that he referred to as haters to get like information for like blackmail. He calls people out publicly on Facebook and like encourages people to attack. It's so interesting.
That's really wild, and especially as young as you were, that's really manipulative. That puts you in a really tight space.
I love creepy, and I thought he had the best intentions, and I was like, okay, there's nothing wrong with this. Like, this is fine. I can die. Like,
yeah. So I was able to watch a bit of your video, not all the way through. So you did the tour with your partner then. Yes. 5 years ago. Okay.
We met when we got there at the benches.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't know who she was, and apparently she was on the.
Oh, I see.
And I got through the haunt within 2 days. I messaged him on Facebook. When I found the video, I messaged him on Facebook. I went through the haunt.
I see. Okay. Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it was like. Yeah. So when everyone's like, "Oh, there's a 2-year-long wait list with 17,000 people," that was. I think there were people interested, but
yeah, I've seen something from the person, I'm sure you already know of it, the Dark Tourist series on Netflix. I saw that he did like an AMA on Reddit, and basically he said that the whole idea of the wait list is an illusion, that there is no, and I mean there could be, I shouldn't say that, but that it's probably not quite what people believe it is. So wow, you got into it very quickly. So did you have to have your parents' permission then at that time because you were 19? No?
I did. So the age didn't go up because I think it's 21 now, or he bumped it up to 21. Right. It was still 18 when I went through it.
I see. Is there a specific reason that McKamey Manor was the haunt that you chose? Was it that one specifically, or were you just searching out a more extreme haunt? And if it was McKamey Manor, I would love to know like what drew you to it specifically.
So I started with just extreme haunted houses, because I used to work in a haunted house. So going to haunted houses was scary for me because I know the trapdoors and I know the tricks. So I found McKamey Manor, and then I just, like you probably did too, I got like sucked into the dark hole of just wanting to know more about it. And then I got into this like 2-day stint of just watching videos, and then I found the website, sent it to him, sent him the message, and he responded basically the same day saying, yeah, you can come tomorrow.
That is so quick. So that's not even a lot of time to like think it over or got it. Was there a very specific moment that really rattled you in particular, or anything that was super freaky that stuck with you after the haunt, or something that, you know, and of course please don't go into anything you don't want to relive or you don't want to talk about. You know, I don't want you to go into anything you're not comfortable with, but was there a peak moment where you were like, okay, this is really scary? It
was honestly like the entire 6 hours was like that peak moment. And it was just trying to, because it's 6 hours, and like I think back on it now, and my girlfriend asked me, she's like, did you have to pee? And I was like, no, I didn't even think about that because I was so scared that peeing was like not even in my mind. But like I got waterboarded, and like I saying that now, the average person is like, what? But I can say that I went through a haunted house where they waterboarded me. But I think the thing that stuck with me most is just the look on his face, because I had like a real life panic attack in the haunt, and the look of pleasure on his face and the smile that he had, I just don't even know how to explain, because he looked so pleased, and not even in like a boo I scared you way, and just like I don't even know how to explain it.
No, I understand that. That would stick with me too, for sure. What was it that made you quit? Or was there even, you know, I know that it's changed a lot. Were you able to quit at this point in time, or were you just forced to quit when he was done with you?
A little bit of all of that. It was very personalized from my experience. He told us we had one chance to get out, but once we said no to the chance, then we were just there. But my tour didn't end because either of us quit. It just got too late. So there was a point in time where he just looked at us and he was like, well, it's too late. Like, we got to end it. They put us back in the van and took us back. So we didn't like tap out or quit. We just kind of stopped. But after that, when he started to get worse, he had a safe word that he didn't really use. So people could say it, but it was kind of just up to him when they left.
When you say 6 hours, is that your total? It's so convoluted the way that people will last a specific amount of time, but then you look at how much time they've had to spend preparing for the haunt or doing these homework assignments and then going through the waiver and everything. Was 6 hours your total time, like full active experience, or was that the waiver and the tour?
That was, it was the waiver too, but he didn't start doing the twisted torture stuff with the waiver until after me. So my waiver thing took like 5 to 6 minutes. We signed the waiver, we got our blindfold, we got put in the back of a van, and it started right then. 6
minutes? That is crazy.
Short and quick, and we were in, and it started. It was daytime and like 6 p.m. when I went in, and it was past midnight when I got back in my car.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Gosh, wow. That's so different from what I hear now, obviously, with these like people who say that they sign waivers for hours and hours and hours. Have you kept in contact with him, and have you considered going back?
I've not had any contact with Russ since I stopped being an admin for the Facebook group. It became too much drama. I have been in a little bit of contact with his ex-partner, Carol, because she was just a victim in all of this as well. And I feel bad for everything that she had to go through. And I would go to an extreme haunt. I would never go back to McKamey Manor because it's not a haunted house. There's no theme. There's no story. There's not something that happens. It's not like a regular thing. It's just whatever he wants to do to torture you for himself, to have power, he'll do.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually kind of answers my next question, which literally I have been trying so hard to understand, because so just like you, I saw these videos on YouTube and Facebook and wherever. I'm talking like I was just out of high school. So this was probably like 2013, 2014 for me. And I remember just being so shocked by it and thinking to myself, I totally go do that one day, right? But looking at it now, I have no sense of whether there is a plot or a storyline, or if you know, like how escape rooms, you have like a mission, you're trying to do something. With McKamey Manor, is there any of that or no?
So there used to be. The old haunt used to have a storyline where they would walk, like Carol would tell a story and they'd walk through the house and it would be like a little physical. But then he was just like, I'm going to personalize it for every single person, so it's going to be different every time. And by personalizing it, he just meant finding out what makes people break physically and emotionally, and then just beating them down for however long you wanted to.
Okay.
So it's funny because we found the videos at the same time, because I found it I went September 2014, so like same mindset of, oh, this would be like kind of cool to go through. I went in blind, not even knowing what I was about to get myself into.
That's so scary to me, because you know, you look at people now and they talk about these crazy waivers, and they, you know, routinely express that they knew what they were getting themselves into, and you know, whatever. But it's like, looking at your situation, you had no idea. Like, it was literally like 2 days, not even, of like debating it, really just looking into it and maybe getting a little bit hyped, and then you were just tossed into the thick of it. I mean, that's terrifying, and that's the kind of stuff that I hear about that makes me really, really, really concerned about what's going on there. Did you feel like your haunt in particular was more physical or more like mental, or did you feel like it was just a good mix of both?
It's 100% a mix of both, especially for the haunt after mine. That's why I get a lot of backlash, because people, since he did put mine was a boo haunt, people think that I didn't go through anything, which is 100% wrong. But my haunt was not as bad as the videos after mine. So the videos people have now, I didn't see before I made the decision to go into the haunt. But I don't even, there's just so much to this haunt. It's not even the haunt. It's like Russ McKamey himself just being twisted.
Yeah. I know that you have a whole like hour-long video of it up now on YouTube, so I will have that linked down below. That's a crazy experience for anyone to go through at that young age, and for, you know, anyone to experience that trauma. I've heard a bit of Carol talking, and, you know, not extensively, but even just listening to the way that she said that he would basically prey specifically on women and have these crazy long Skype calls with them, convincing them to come to the manor. You know, it's really gross, and I'm just so sorry you had to go through that at all, but especially at that young of an age. And of course, so grateful that you're able to spread some light on this, but that's wild. Wow. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, it's because like the more I've learned, the more that I talk about it, there's just so much to it. Everything that the Facebook group became, and then he still has his Facebook group of followers and minions, and it's just wild that it's become this crazy, extreme conspiracy almost, in a sense. Right. But I don't think anyone should do it. Stay away.
Yeah. Anyways, you guys, I really hope you enjoyed this second installment in my now series of McKamey Manor. This is a dark subject. It makes me feel uncomfortable and unsettled a lot of the times, but I'm also so desperate to get to the bottom of this and to understand everything that I can about this incredibly intense, wacky story that is McKamey Manor. With all of that being said, I really appreciate you guys watching this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. I love you very much.